Hi guys, I just wanted to remind you of about how to write your persuasive essay. We had a prompt very recently about music, and your persuasive prompt was to write about whether or not you think music enhances our lives or detracts from our lives. And I think all of you chose that it enhances our lives, makes them better. And this is the essay that I wrote to help you understand or just to review what steps you need to take and what things you need to include in your essay for STAAR on Thursday if you're taking English 2. So I just wanted to review a few things. I have my introduction along with my thesis, which I underlined. I have two transitions that introduce my first example and my second example. And then I have my conclusion, which includes my concession and my call to action. Let me move this over. Okay, I just want to go through this very quickly. It says, from even before we're born, we hear the beat of our mother's heart. It is with that first thump that most of us embrace music and we discover all of its benefits. So there's my hook. If you can't think of a hook when you're on the STAAR, maybe leave a line blank and come back to it and just go ahead and, work on your thesis. Or if worse comes to worse, start with your thesis. And remember, your thesis is coming straight from your prompt. You're using words from your prompt to build your thesis. So our thesis again was take a position about whether music enhances or detracts from our lives. So I said music enhances our lives because it reduces our stresses and it helps us recall memories. So I used the wording from the prompt, and I have two examples that it reduces our stresses and helps recall memories. So that's my thesis. I've underlined that to show you where I included it. Now, the thesis is like a roadmap for your entire essay. It's very important that you always make sure that you're not straying from your thesis, that your two examples tie back to your thesis, and we'll talk more about that in a second. So I have a transition here. To begin with, I'm terrified to fly, but when I do work up the courage to get on an airplane, I always make sure to have my iPod charged and ready to go. I load it with relaxing and comforting songs that help me forget my fears and play tunes that make me feel safe. The last time I flew, I went to Costa Rica. I didn't know anyone on the trip, so my music was the only thing that saved me from having a nervous breakdown. I listened to songs that my dad loved, and that made me feel like he was with me, keeping me safe. Clearly, having music with me reduced my stress and made it possible for me to travel. If you remember from some work we did in the last couple of weeks, this last sentence here is what I wrote to tie back to the prompt, to tie back to my thesis. So if you see, I have my transition clearly. I could have used therefore, I could have used for this reason, but I just used clearly. And I said, having music with me reduced my stress. And I highlighted the word stress so you could see that stress is in my thesis. So I am sticking to my topic, I am sticking to my thesis, and I have written that last sentence to tie back to my thesis. And that's super important that you do that. Then I have my next example. In addition, a transition, music is incredibly connected to memory. In the documentary Alive Inside, social worker Dan Cohen worked with Alzheimer's patients in a few nursing homes. He figured out what their music was from their younger years and loaded it onto iPods. The results were miraculous. Patients who had not spoken or remembered much in years began talking, recalling their youth, dancing, and smiling after listening to their music. The tunes touched a part of the patient's brains that had been asleep and helped evoke memories everyone thought were long gone. Therefore, music has a unique way of helping us recall events that have been buried deep in our memories. Again, my last sentence here ties back to my prompt and ties back to my thesis, which are the same thing, or they have the same wording, and it ties up my example, and it makes the reader It reminds the reader that I am writing about how memory is affected by music, or how music affects memory. So again, that last sentence is super important to have a really tight, effective essay. Don't forget that last sentence at the end of your examples. Then we have our last paragraph, which is our conclusion. And okay, the last paragraph is, again, it's my conclusion, but I have my concession and my call to action here. This is for persuasive essays because you're trying to convince someone that music enhances our lives, music makes our lives better. So in the last one, you want to look at the other side of things. What is something that people that don't like music might say is wrong with music, or how music makes our lives worse? So I wrote, some people may feel that music is too graphic, too loud, or too expensive. However, so now I'm coming back to my point. However, music has the power to make us feel better and to take us back to all the important times in our lives. So right there, I just restated my thesis. I put my thesis in new words, but it still is my thesis. And then here's my call to action. It's a little weak, but it's still a call to action. Everyone should listen to music as often as possible because music makes life even better. So I looked at both sides of the coin and I said, yeah, music might be these things, but here's why music is awesome. And here's what you need to do. And that's how I'm going to end this essay. So again, I have my introduction, which is up here with my thesis. I have my two examples. I started them with a transition, and I ended each of them with that sentence that ties it back to my thesis. And that keeps me on track and keeps my essay very focused. And then I have my concluding paragraph, which has my concession, where I look at the other side, and it has my call to action. And if you'll follow these steps, I think you're going to have a very successful writing experience on STAAR. Good luck.